Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our cell phone-free Education Policy Family Engagement Town Hall. My name is Dr. Charmel Atkins, and I serve as the Chief Equity Officer for Prince William County Schools. And I'm honored to kick off tonight's conversation as we explore how our new cell phone policy supports student learning, well-being, and community partnership. Tonight's event is part of our ongoing commitment to transparency, collaboration, and student-centered decision-making. We know that cell phone use in schools is a complex issue, one that touches academics, mental health, social emotional development, and family dynamics. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to be here both virtually and in person. Tonight, you will hear from the following panelists. We have Jennifer Wall, School Board Member, Gainesville District. We have Catherine Porter Lucas, one of our Associate Superintendents for Middle Schools. Ron Crow, Director of Security and Crisis Readiness. Wendy Martin Johnson, Director of Special Education Programs and Development. Dolores Lucas, Principal, Battlefield High School. Lisa Warner, Principal, Marsteller Middle School. And Karina Grover, Student Board Representative, Colgan High School. We also have an awesome facilitator with us today, Karen Riddle. Heather Riddle. We will have an overview of our policy, address questions submitted in advance, and feedback will be collected and reviewed to inform future adjustments. We also have a resource fair in the cafeteria beginning at 7 p.m. with representation from the following agencies for those who are here in person with us this evening. We have NAMI Prince William, Bloom Health Centers, Connections Prince William's Crisis Receiving Center, Dominion Hospital, Formed Families Forward, Prince William Community Services Wellness and Prevention, George Mason University Center for Community Mental Health, Our Minds, and the following PWCS departments and offices. We have our Parent Resource Center, Varsity Tutors, Social and Emotional Wellness, and Bullying Prevention. I will now turn it over to Ms. Porter Lucas.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Good evening again. Before we start to review our cell phone policy and get into our questions and answers tonight, we want to share a brief clip from the Anxious Generation book. This started many of our conversations last year based on our reading of this book, so we wanted to share a brief clip with you tonight.
Rethinking the way they raise their kids. NYU professor and social psychologist Jonathan Haidt is the author of The Anxious Generation: How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. In that book, he argues we are overprotecting children in the real world while underprotecting them online, leading to mental health challenges among America's youth. The book has spent 9 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list and is prompting many lawmakers and schools to consider limiting the use of smartphones. And Jonathan Haidt joins us now. Jonathan, thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure, Tony.
The book is not only a bestseller, it reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And I'm curious why you think at this particular moment this book has landed in such a big way.
So, I think that the reason is because all over the developed world, family life is the same. It's constant arguments over screen time. Like, we didn't ask for this. How is it that we're all spending so much time in this struggle? So we've all seen something is wrong. We know something is wrong when kids spend all day doing this rather than out playing with their friends. So I think the book has touched a nerve. Parents are gravitating to it. And even in countries that I haven't visited, as soon as the book goes on sale, it's on the bestseller list. This is a global problem.
Do you feel like we're at a turning point?
Yes, we are. I'm sure that we are, because in Britain, they've already turned. That is, parents are up in arms there. The government is acting. And we're just a few weeks behind them. So things are really changing this year. Schools are going phone free because we're all sick of this. We're so sick of this. And in my book, I don't just say, oh, we've got a problem. I say like, actually, here's the way out. If we act together, we actually can escape from this.
So for people who don't know the thesis, could you just talk about what the rewiring is, the biggest risks, and then there's 4 points you make for the solution part
Sure.
of this?
So the subtitle of the book is about the great rewiring of childhood. If you go back to 2010, almost all kids had a cell phone, but it was a flip phone. Very few had a smartphone. And there was no front-facing camera. And in 2010, kids still would get together with each other after school. Kids still would talk in school between classes. Fast forward 5 years. In 2015, everyone's got a smartphone, front-facing camera, Instagram. Lots of companies are competing for their attention. What happens? Time with friends plummets. Kids don't go over to each other's homes anymore. In between classes, it's quiet because everyone's on their phone. Loneliness. The kids are so lonely because they're doing this all the time. They're not connecting with people.
Yeah. I have the older set of kids, 14 and 12, who live in the smartphone generation, who've had these effects, and then I've got the younger set. And I really hope that as a parent, I can do better with the younger ones than I have with the older ones when it comes to restricting this sort of use. What are the 4 things you think society should do and that parents can do to fix the problem?
So the key to the whole thing is that when each of us acts alone and says, no, you're not getting social media till 16, the kid says, but Mom, I'm the only one in the class. I'm being left out. So the key is we act together.
Yeah.
So if a bunch of us do this together, it works. So the 4 norms are no smartphone before high school. Do not give your kid a smartphone, full access to the internet before high school. Just give them a flip phone or a phone watch when they're in elementary school. Number 2, no social media before 16. Once you give them social media, the entire world has access to your child. You're horrible things that they're going to see. Rule number 3, phone-free schools.
Yeah.
If your kid goes to a school where they let the kids have phones in the pockets, then kids are on their phones during class. They're texting during class. And rule 4 is the hardest one because that's the one where we have to actually overcome our fears. We have to let our kids have more independence, free play, and responsibility in the real world.
So we're going to get started with our overview of our policy. So our policy supports students in their academic success by removing the significant distraction posed by cell phone usage and other personal electronic communication devices. The goals of our policy are to enhance student engagement and participation in classroom activities by reducing the influence of social media-related disruptions, to foster meaningful connections and interpersonal skill development by encouraging face-to-face interactions among students, to support students in achieving academic success by minimizing interruptions to the learning process, and to model and promote responsible digital citizenship among students. So for our overview for our K-12 students, we really think about off and away for the day. So devices are silenced and stored away during the school day. Devices are allowed on school buses if they do not distract the driver or compromise safety or violate rules. Students, regardless of age or grade level, are required to follow the rules applicable to the specific school where they are present. The use of cell phones and personal electronic communication devices are prohibited in all locker rooms and restrooms at all times. There are exceptions. The exceptions may be granted as part of accommodations through Section 504 plans or IEPs when necessary, or as a part of students' health, safety, or support plans when necessary. In terms of wearable devices, headphones, and personal laptops and tablets, we do get a lot of questions about smartwatches. So as a reminder, smartwatches must be placed in airplane mode and should only be used for telling the time. So students may not use their personal headphones or earbuds during the bell-to-bell school day either, and Prince William does provide headphones for educational use if needed. All students are issued a Prince William laptop or iPad to use during the school day, so they are unable to utilize their personal laptops or tablets during the bell-to-bell school day. And here is the video that we showed at the beginning of the year to all families and students, and we wanted to make sure that we showed the video, an overview for the middle and high school policy.
The new PWCS cell phone-free policy, following the governor's recent executive order, aims to create a focused learning environment for middle and high school students. Understanding these guidelines will help students know when and how to store their phones throughout the school day, ensuring minimal distractions and maintaining a conducive atmosphere for education. From the first bell to the final bell, all students must keep their phones off and stored away in their backpacks or bags. Students may not store phones in pants pockets or other places on their body. It is essential for all students to adhere to this policy to help maintain an effective learning environment. Phones are also not permitted during lunch and class transitions, in restrooms and locker rooms. This ensures that students remain engaged and focused on their social interactions and the learning environment. Students are encouraged to communicate face-to-face rather than through their devices. During after-school activities and practices, the coach, sponsor, or instructor will determine whether they will permit communication device usage. Exceptions to this policy may be granted when necessary to ensure that students with individualized education programs, Section 504 plans, or other support plans may access their education services. Parents or guardians and students should contact a school administrator to request an exception if they think one is needed. The student's IEP team or Section 504 team will meet to determine whether access to their phone is an approved exception to the policy. Students who fail to abide by the cell phone-free policy will face disciplinary action as follows. For the first infraction, the student's device will be surrendered and locked in the main office. The device will be returned at the end of the school day. Students will sign an Acknowledgement of Further Consequences form, which will be recorded in the Student Information System. For the second infraction, the student will again surrender their device, and it will be locked in the main office. The device will be returned at the end of the school day. The teacher or staff member will notify a parent or guardian about the infraction, which will be recorded in the Student Information System. For the third infraction, the student will surrender their device and it will be locked in the main office. The student will complete a healthy cell phone use module during a lunch detention, restorative reflection, or Saturday school. A parent or guardian must come to the school to retrieve the device from the main office. A disciplinary referral will be generated, and the parent or guardian will sign the Acknowledgement of Further Consequences form. The student will receive additional discipline referrals if they continue to have infractions beyond the third offense. Please note that this is an update from last school year's pilot policy program, where students could receive up to 3 infractions per class. This year, students can receive no more than 3 infractions overall for the entire school year. By following the PWCS cell phone-free policy, students contribute to a more productive school environment. Understanding and adhering to these guidelines not only promotes focus, but also enhances interaction among peers. For any questions or clarifications, students are encouraged to reach out to their teachers or school staff.
So that was for middle and high school. The only difference for elementary and our combination schools are students are permitted to have their cell phones and personal electronic communication devices while on school buses, while they are in their parents' vehicles, or before they enter and after they exit school grounds, so not during the school day. In terms of updates and resources, we have included the cell phone policy in our updated online code of behavior. We continue to educate our students and staff and families about the policy. We held code of behavior assemblies and lessons at all of our elementary, middle, and high schools in the fall to ensure that our students understood the expectations. All staff trained on the cell phone policy, and we will continue that training, including clarification when needed. So we recently clarified the use of headphones and the expectations that headphones are used for instructional purposes when required only. We also have a cell phone focus group that is made up of students, parents, and staff members and administrators throughout the county to make sure that we are garnering their feedback throughout the implementation of our policy. And we also have quarterly data reviews where we will take a look at the cell phone infraction data, the survey data that we collect, as well as any feedback from any of our stakeholders. So at this time, we're going to turn it over to why we are all here tonight, and our panelists are here. We are going to have questions and answers, and our moderator is Mrs. Heather Riddle, Supervisor for Procedural Support and Compliance in our Special Education Office. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Riddle.
Thank you all for being here tonight, whoever is here in person and online. We appreciate your thoughtful engagement throughout this important conversation. Before we begin our Q&A session, I want to extend a sincere thank you to everyone who submitted questions in advance. Your input has helped shape the direction of tonight's discussion and ensures that we're addressing the topics that matter most to our students, families, and educators. I'd also like to thank our panelists, our district leaders, school administrators, and student representatives, who are all here to respond to your questions. Their perspectives reflect the collaborative spirit behind this policy and our shared commitment to student success. During this session, we'll address as many questions as time allows, and if your question isn't answered tonight, please know that we're collecting all feedback and will follow up through future communications and engagement opportunities. Let's get started. And I just want to add a special note that we are thrilled that our school board representative, Jen Wall, is joining us here tonight. Ms. Wall, you have the first question.
Great. Fire away.
Okay. So from your perspective, how is the cell phone policy implementation going so far?
From my perspective, as I visit schools and as I ask parents and I ask teenagers, I ask every opportunity I get, I ask the teenagers what they think about the policy. I feel like the policy is going well. I feel like the implementation is going well. I feel like there were some rough things in the beginning where maybe some IEPs hadn't been fully thought out, or maybe some 504s needed to be updated. And there were some questions about like, oh, I can't bring my laptop, what do you mean? Some of those early things where I think we did a great job communicating it, but I think sometimes it might not be received as well as we think. But as far as that is concerned, I think things have smoothed out a lot, and the expectations are clear, and by and large, kids are doing a good job following it. Do we have little pockets of maybe resistance or non-compliance? I have no doubt, because that's just human nature, but I would say it's going really well.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from some school administrators. We have Ms. Warner and Ms. Dolores Lucas. What do you guys think? How's it going from your perspective as principals?
I'm happy to start. At the middle level, I can speak to that. It's going extremely well. We have had no cell phones at the middle level for quite some time. This year in particular, we have seen a dramatic decrease in a discipline related to social media concerns, which has been very beneficial for students and administration. It keeps our students in class. It keeps our administrators focused on instruction. We've had very, very few violations at the middle level, and our student engagement and that authentic socialization has definitely increased. So we're doing really well at the middle level.
Great. Ms. Lucas?
Yes, I'll concur that we have seen a reduction in discipline referrals related to social media concerns. We have seen that students, while they were always a bit talkative when they were at lunch, are now boisterous when they're at lunch. It's really loud, and it's great to see that interaction. Teachers are discussing how the students are much more engaged with one another in class, and I think that really helps quite a bit, because now you get to see the emotions of individuals and how that could impact them, where maybe with social media, they weren't seeing that because they were behind a screen. So I think that has helped quite a bit in building that positive relationship among our students. And I can just speak for my school. I have high school students that during lunch, they're in the library and they have story time, of which I have been a participant. So it's great to see that kids are actually reading and engaging with one another. I think it's been going really well. Pockets, as was discussed before, which is always going to be a little bit of that, but it's been going great so far.
Thank you. All right, we also have a student representative, Miss Karina Grover. Karina, what school are you at?
I'm at Colgan High School.
Wonderful. And from your perspective, how are things going with the cell phone policy?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone was saying, there are some challenges, right? But personally, I know I can speak for a lot of students. We were really nervous going into the school year, right? You know, what if I can't text my mom if I'm in an emergency? Or what if my best friend's gonna think I'm mad at her? Or, you know, little drama, things like that. But I think as the school year is going on, we are getting better and better. I've been in contact with our main office lady, and she's so sweet. At the beginning, she got a little bit tired of all the cell phones she has to process. But as the year's going on, she has told me that it's less and less. Week by week, it gets better and better. So as far as it's going, I think it's going great. Like Ms. Wall said, it's, started off a little rocky, but we're doing great. People are more focused in class, we're more engaged, and yeah, I love to see it.
Great, thank you. All right, let's come over here to Dr. Atkins. Dr. Atkins, I have a question for you. What steps are being taken to ensure the policy is enforced equitably across all student demographics?
That's a great question, and I think Mrs. Porter-Lucas kind of spoke to that in the brief presentation. I think the professional development that was done for our administrative staff and teachers on the front end, ensuring that they are well aware of the policy, the consequences associated, so that everyone is implementing the same thing, no matter what school that you're at, you're hearing the same thing. And establishing the feedback mechanism. She talked about the focus group, so that way we are able to capture information real time for those who are in it and living in it, and we know how we need to pivot, if any. Also providing support services, I think that's important as well. Anytime there's a big shift or change that's impacting a student's life, we want to make sure that there is support and advocacy available for them. And I think also maintaining transparency and accountability. I think those are the ways that we have ensured equity in the policy enforcement, and we'll just continue, as our superintendent says, getting better at getting better.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to come over here to this side. Let's see. Ms. Porter-Lucas, I have a question for you. Do the adults in the building, how are students, parents, and teachers involved in shaping this policy? And will there be opportunities for students and families to provide feedback or suggest changes? And in addition to that, will there be future sessions or workshops?
Thank you. So we obviously embrace all of our feedback, but last year when we started with the pilot, for the cell phone pilot, we started our focus group, students, parents, teachers, administrators. We met regularly, monthly, to really discuss how things were going, to get input, and then we made our recommendations to the school board. And so we are going to continue that. We're going to continue with our engagement events, feedback sessions, listening sessions at schools. We ask our principals to continue the work that they've done with engaging with their advisory councils at their schools to hear how things are going from the parent perspective, student perspective, engage with their staff. And so we are going to continue to have that ongoing opportunity with not just the focus group, but within each school to make sure we're gathering the feedback.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, Mr. Crow, will students still be able to contact parents during emergencies or schedule changes?
Well, I think, any parent's concerned about being able to get in touch with their student during a crisis and to find out if they're okay. But, we encourage the parents to use our many platforms that we communicate on with the school division for the most accurate information that's out there. In addition, during a crisis, we want the students focused on what's going on in front of them, direction that's been given by their teachers and administrators to ensure their safety. But you can ensure that we will communicate as quickly as possible that everyone's safe and okay.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Martin Johnson, how does the cell phone policy accommodate students with IEPs or 504 plans who may use phones as assistive technology?
So, great question. For students with disabilities, whether it's through an IEP or their Section 504 plan, it's really up to that team to determine what accommodation is needed or what type of assistive technology is needed. The team really has to consider what's the foundation of the disability and what is needed for the student to access their education. So we have lots of different types of technology. We saw in the video, all of our students have devices. So it's really maybe retraining students on how they can use a different device as opposed to using their cell phone.
Great. Okay, this question is jumping out at me. Coming over to Ms. Lucas, do the adults in the building model appropriate cell phone use, and what is the expectation for staff at your school?
Well, I can tell you we're not scouring classrooms to see if teachers are doing what they should be doing, but I haven't seen teachers in the hallways with their phones. When I have gone into classrooms, we have not seen teachers with their phones on their desk or using them. They are engaged with the students as well, which that is really important for everyone because now they're building those relationships with students and they're having the opportunities to know where there are areas that they can continue to support student growth and academic success. So we have not really seen the teachers doing it. I don't use it when I'm in the hallway or when I go to classrooms. I have a walkie-talkie if you need to get in touch with me. So I make it a point to not have my cell phone either because I want to model what it is that I want students to be doing. So the expectation for our staff in terms of the cell phones, if they see them, they are to call our office assistant who then contacts administration or security to go to such and such classroom to pick up the cell phone, and then we lock the cell phone away till the end of the day, and then we follow the process for steps 1, 2, 3 if it's an infraction from that standpoint. If it's a staff member that's in the hallway and they see a student with the phone, there to ask them for the phone. However, if they don't know that student and the student doesn't know them, the student might not be so keen to turn it over, even though they should. So at that point, we just ask the staff member to inform security about the time of day, where they were, and then we look on the cameras and we then follow up with the student to address that particular issue. It's very important that that happens. I do a morning announcement at the warning bell to remind students to go to their lockers and put their devices away, and for teachers to be in the hallways to make sure that students are in fact doing that and turn them back around if they're not.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to come back over here to Ms. Wall. We talked a little bit at the beginning about how we switched from guidelines to a policy this school year. So why did the school board create a policy, especially noting the changes for high school students that do not allow them to use their cell phones during lunch and hall exchanges?
That is a great question. I know a lot of kids had that question. I've answered it a lot of times. When a phone is in and out of a backpack or a pocket throughout the day, during lunch and in between classes, it's just never really out of your mind. It's present. What notifications you're getting, did somebody reply, how many likes did you get, etc. And some of those phones weren't getting back into the backpacks, they were on the person. And research is really clear. If your device is on your person, even if it's silent, your brain is in your phone. You're in your online world, or at least conscious of it. And what we wanted to do for kids is teach them to disconnect, to be present in their educational environment. We can't control what happens at home the rest of the other 16 hours that we don't have kids in school, but we wanted to create an environment where children learned that it's okay to not be in that online world, that being present is awesome, and that being independent and practicing skills like self-regulation, self-management, social skills, inquiring about who's next to you, what their name is, what they're interested in during class, and at lunch especially, that's your social time. You shouldn't be on your phone because there are real people right next to you. So those were some of the things that we were thinking about as a school board. But also, if a student gets 240 app notifications a day on average, that's what I found through research, that's a lot. And it's important to learn, like, let's just disconnect a little bit. And I think everybody can understand the benefit of this. Keep your head in the game, keep your head in the class. Think about what you just learned as you're walking from math class to science class. Be present. And I think overall, I think it's easier actually to have the phone in the locker or the bottom of the bag than thinking, I got 5 minutes, I gotta pull it out and do whatever. It's easier actually for our staff, for our teachers, for our students. It's easier and better. So we were just hoping we'd actually see the results that we hope to see if we made a clear bell-to-bell. And I think Jonathan Haidt's book was a big part of that, and he cites a lot of research that I'm kind of generally summarizing in that book. So this is what the experts are saying, so why not go for it? Yeah, I know it's a hard lift, but I think it's going really well.
Great. Well, I feel like I have to ask the next follow-up question to that. Was there specific data or research in addition to some of the things you mentioned that influenced the board's decision?
I know each individual member probably did their own research and listened to people and listened to other school divisions. When I went to VSBA conferences, there were other school divisions that were a little further ahead of us that I would ask, what are you doing? How is it going? What problems did you have? Why did you do what you did? I know I asked our own middle schools. We had a number of middle schools that were already doing a bell-to-bell policy in our own division who had on their own initiative decided, that's it, we're taking away the phones, and we don't want to see them from bell to bell. So we already had a little bit of experience, and I had been asking my principals, how's it going? You have a cell phone ban? What? And tell me about it. And I had already found out that violations such as Title IX sexual harassment violations dropped dramatically at some of my middle schools when the school went with a bell-to-bell ban. And that in and of itself was, to me, fascinating and created a desire to learn more. So I would say researching, other Virginia divisions, researching our own experience, but I also did a lot of research as well, did a lot of online research. I read some really great scholarly articles about the effects of cell phone usage on the teenage brain, social media use, et cetera, et cetera. And I think as the board talked among ourselves, in our one-on-one conversations, everybody came to the same, nearly everybody came to the same conclusion. We've got to do this. We have an opportunity to be leaders here. Virginia was not the first, and we weren't the first, but we're part of the wave of educators who are coming to these same conclusions. So I would say it was like a broad, all avenues of gathering information that came into the policy being recommended that we went with, which was the bell-to-bell.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to come back over to Ms. Warner. Got another question for you. What kind of training or guidance have teachers received to implement the policy fairly and effectively?
Our middle school was part of the pilot program, so our staff happened to get a few years leg up on this. However, the division did provide all of the middle school administrative teams with a tremendous amount of resources, everything that you can imagine, templates to share with families, to videos for teachers, signage for classrooms, signage with the violations, training videos for staff. So all of the principals were able to utilize those resources and work with our staff during that work week before all of the students came back. And then obviously our staffs meet monthly. We remind them. Our main office staff is a big part of this process, this new policy. And our main office staff, our administrative assistant team, also received all of the same trainings and resources. And we meet regularly with our administrative assistants because they do have such a big part in this. And so they have an opportunity to ask us questions. And it's just an ongoing process. And what do you need and what questions do you have? But the division did provide, we have a whole plethora of resources on the Launchpad specifically for staff.
Thank you. All right, now let's hear again from our student. Are you feeling more focused in school? Is it working?
I would say so, right? To be completely honest and open, going into the school year, I was a little nervous about this policy, right? I was kind of like, what? We can't have phones during lunch? Like, why? But, you know, I've realized even in myself that I am way more focused in class, right? And I think part of it is we have never lived without our phone, right? I always hear adults say, my parents specifically, they're always like, back in the old days, we never had phones, right? No offense, okay? But, you know, it's true, right? We literally have never lived without a phone. So I think this is a really powerful policy that we implemented, and it's really showing us, like, yeah, we can live without a phone. We can focus in class. We can engage in meaningful conversation during lunch. We don't need a phone. You know, sometimes I see people sitting alone, you know, and I don't have a phone either. Maybe I don't have friends in that lunch. I just go sit with them, right? It's these social interactions that you see happening so much more in schools that show that this cell phone policy is really working in building these relationships in PWCS. And it's just so wonderful to see. I've seen people talking to staff more, teachers more, engaging with one another more, and I just can't even explain how powerful it's been. Even our counseling staff started a college prep during lunches, so we can go to the career center and learn and get help with essays, learn more about the college process, and it's just amazing. I mean, we're doing so much more, and I think it's just really helped students stay focused and engaged in schools.
Great, thank you. So your cafeteria is louder.
Yes. But, you
Louder than
know,
last year.
it's great.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. Dr. Martin Johnson, what alternatives are being offered to students who previously relied on phones for coping strategies?
A great question, and actually a great follow-up, because you just identified what these older people on this panel have experienced, where you actually go to an adult, you go to a school counselor, you go to a trusted teacher, you go to a peer or a staff member, and you actually talk to them about what's going on. Or you go to the counselor's office and you use that phone to call a parent if you really need to do that. Our school system has social workers, school counselors, et cetera. There are so many trusted adults that our students can access, and it's wonderful to hear that you're building more peer connections. And so I think that's something that we're hearing loud and clear. That's going to be helpful for social emotional development and just connecting with kids your own age that before, if you were buried in the phone, you didn't see that. So those coping skills are good for every student.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Crow, I know that for students that might have they might have to turn over their phone, they're not going to be so happy about it. So how are security staff trained to de-escalate situations involving phone-related disputes?
Well, generally, if students don't want to turn over their phones, we've heard some of those actions that are taken forward. We're not interested in creating a physical contact when we have a violation of that policy. We have other ways of managing that, reaching out to parents or waiting until later in the day when things may not be so tense to manage those.
Great. Okay. Ms. Porter Lucas. Though expensive, have you considered purchasing lockable pouches such as Yonder pouches? And why don't you collect the phone instead of allowing them to have it? Why don't schools take away phones from students at the entrance in the morning and return them when they are dismissed?
Great question. So we did take a look at the options for pouches and what that would look like. It was part of the discussion that we had with the leadership team for Prince William County, as well as our focus group. And where we landed was we really want to teach the responsibility for our students. We don't want to have to lock it up in order for them to learn, because a lot of them will go into jobs where they may not be able to have their phones, right? And that job is not going to provide a locked pouch for them. They're going to trust that they have learned that responsibility. So we took that route to really help our students just learn to manage and be responsible as they, continue to grow as young adults and into adulthood. And so we did actually, we ordered a few samples and we tried them out and we thought about it and really took another route there. And so we're trying to teach them to be responsible, to understand that, hey, this is the expectation. We expect you to meet those expectations, and that there are consequences if they don't meet those expectations. So trying the responsibility route and going to continue to monitor how that's going.
Okay. All right. Ms. Lucas, I have a question from someone who submitted. What do I do if my high school student is reporting that no one at their school cares if they have their phones or not?
Really good question. So what we encourage parents to reach out to the school and let us know. It's good if we have the student's name and we can talk with the student as well to find out who exactly is seeming to not care or put them away when someone comes in the classroom, sort of thing. The good thing about kids tell on everybody. Yes. And so generally, you're not really going to have too much of that issue going on. But if a student feels that the school is not doing what they should be doing, we do encourage parents to reach out and let someone in the school know, whether it's one of our admin assistants or if they want to talk to an administrator or a counselor, because a lot of times parents have built relationships with these individuals over time and they might feel more comfortable going that route. And then we address the issue because we need everybody to step up and make sure that we're doing what's best for our students so that they're successful and that they feel successful and they feel like they're part of something more than just behind a screen of a phone.
Okay, and a bit of a follow-up to that for Ms. Warner. Things happen, life happens, kids forget things at home, sports equipment, or their homework, or whatever it is.
Yes.
How will students be able to contact their families during the school day if needed for an emergency or something they forgot at home?
So all middle schools do have a designated student phone in the main office that all students can use. We have a sign-in sheet, right? We just ask that the students sign in so that if they don't reach their parent and they don't leave a voicemail like they're instructed to do, the parent will receive a missed call from school, and 9 times out of 10 they call back. So we'll be able to answer to the parent, yes, your student did call you. And the administrative assistants generally get an idea of why they're calling. We do provide phone numbers for our students, for their parents, if they haven't memorized them. And we also provide training on how to use landlines. And landlines are not obsolete yet, and it is a life skill. And we are very good at teaching middle schoolers how to hold a receiver and use the landline. So, but we do have a designated phone for our students, and they use it. We fill up about a sheet and a half almost, every 2 days or so, and they use it all the time, and they know it. They know how to do it. So.
All right. Thinking again about students who might have disabilities, Dr. Martin Johnson, how are families of students with disabilities being informed about exceptions or accommodations related to phone use?
Great question. If you have a question about an approved exception, the best place to start is with your case manager, your IEP team, your 504 team, and you just need to talk through what is the need. We have maybe 175 kids who have exceptions, and I would say the bulk of those exceptions are related to diabetes management, adjustment of hearing aids, and even some heart equipment for students. So we have some very true, valid medical reasons why students need access. But other than that, you really need to be able to talk through why is the phone the accommodation for a disability. So the best place to start with that is at the IEP table.
Thank you so much. All right, we're really moving through our questions. You guys are doing a great job of providing so much information. And we had a couple extra questions that were submitted later today. And if anybody, feels called to answer it, are cell phone signals blocked on school grounds? Anybody want to take that question? Ms. Warner or Mr. Crow, I see you.
No, they're not blocked on school grounds in any way. Typically, you lose cell phone coverage, just like radios or anything else, when you move deeper into the building and there's more walls between you and the outside. So that causes reduced cell phone coverage. But no, we don't actively block any cell phones.
Okay. And then kind of related to that, safety is a big concern. People want to know, why can't students have their phones on their person or during an emergency?
So I think we explained on their person and how that affects their, educational workday. But during an emergency, again, we want them focused on what's going on in the school and taking direction from their staff and teachers. That's the best way to make sure they're safe. Certainly, if we had a major incident in a school, once we've made the area safe, we could certainly allow students to reach out to their parents after that to do that. But again, your best place for accurate information is Prince William County Schools, because we're going to vet it, make sure it's correct. Unfortunately, in past years, I've seen too many times where rumor and innuendo or facts going out that lack any type of credibility find their way into the public, and then that ends up going into the social media stew, and then has to get undone.
Social media stew. I like that. Okay. All right. Yes, Ms.
Can
Wall.
I add on to that a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure.
In the area of safety, the school board and Safe Schools Committee and from the superintendent on down have made significant investments in safety and security over the last maybe 3 or 4 years. I think since Dr. McDade came on board with security personnel, with our securing our facilities, with our communications devices, our security operations center that is staffed almost, it's not 24/7, but anytime we have people in the building, there's somebody there. We have high-tech cameras, there's communication protocols, and so even more than ever, we have an ability to have hands-on, eyes-on, brains-on what's going on in a building, even after school hours. And so, and we have plans and ways for communicating that message out quickly and efficiently. So hopefully we never have to put that into effect, but we have made significant investments, and I think that people should know that. So in the olden days, maybe it was 20 years ago, kids were scrambling around trying to get messages out to their parents. It's not going to be on the kids, it's on the adults and the security team that we've hired, and we have experts in this, and we have made significant investments in our our nuts and bolts, radios and cameras, and our personnel and the leadership in this area.
Thank you. And just to follow up to that, so we're sharing, lots of information. We want to answer all of the questions that exist for stakeholders about this cell phone policy. So after today, if people still have questions, what avenues exist for stakeholders to formally share concerns or propose changes to the policy? If you want to take that question, yeah.
You can always complain to your school board member. You can email us, you can call us. As elected officials, our job is to interface with the community and the parents and the students and the staff. You can also reach out directly to the school. You can reach out to a principal, is a great place to start because they know everybody in their building. You can reach out to our Safe Schools advisory. We have multiple advisories. If you have a special ed question or you want to change in something, you can reach out to our leadership in our special ed department, or counseling or wherever. There are a lot of opportunities and avenues where somebody could reach out and say, hey, this is happening. Do we need to make a change, or how can you help me solve my problem? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
But you can always come and yell at us. That's also an option too.
Yes, Karina, you had a thought?
Yes, so I know as students sometimes it may feel like we don't have a voice or say in these policies, right? But Dr. McDade implemented student voice committees, and now it's in all middle schools and high schools. So if you as a student, if you ever have a concern or a question about the cell phone policy, go to your student voice committees, use your voice. Your voice has power, and PWCS implemented SVCs for this reason. Use them. I know last year we worked on the Student Voice Bill of Rights. That's just one example of how your voice has power. And yeah, I just wanted to add that because I know many students feel, silenced or not heard, but this is where your opportunity is, and your voice does have power, and I wanted to emphasize that.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, a couple more questions. One for you, Mr. Crow. We talked a lot about cell phones and if they do have to be turned over. How does the security staff manage respecting students' privacy and personal property if it is turned in to administration?
Well, I think it's important to remember that we have to have reasonable suspicion to search anything, including your student's backpack, their phone, or anything else. So absent reasonable suspicion, we're simply going to take access to it, turn it over to the front office, and then return it to them. Otherwise, we have no legal right to ask for access to that phone.
Okay. All right. We are reaching our 7 o'clock hour. So, and I think we got through all of the questions that we wanted to get through tonight. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in either in person or virtually. But that will conclude our question and answer session.
So we just want to thank everyone for their time this evening, both in person and virtually. We are excited that you've joined us, and we hope to continue to get better at getting better. We value your feedback, and please help us by completing a brief survey to let us know if you've gained any valuable information from today. You can scan the QR code for those of you who are here in person that is on the screen. Those of you who are at home watching, there is a link there that you can click on or scan the QR code. We thank every one of our panelists again this evening for joining us and sharing their insights, and have a great night. Thank you.